in Pokemon, you have these gyms, right? The badges that you can collect.
Okay.
And think about this. Imagine if Arthur at this stage is like, you know what? I'm going to win every world championship with every single tribe. He's going to collect these world championship first places with unique tribes every single time.
Okay, so you're saying this is just an overarching play. You're saying that it's not about anything but the fact that he's like, oh, people are saying I won just because I'm Imperious. I'm going to spend the next 12 years winning every single tribe. Every world championship is going to be won with a different tribe under my name. If he does that, I'll be honest, if he wins this year with a different tribe, he takes the title of the greatest. In my opinion.
I mean,
in this series, absolutely.
Polytopia new to the esports scene, which is so cool to see. But, now is a great opportunity to establish yourself as one of the greats in Polytopia.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what better way to do that than by winning the world championship with unique tribes? So if he goes for that play,
we begin with a semi-final. That's where he has to win first. Before he can even think about greatness, Big Dictator Bossman stands in his way. This is going to be a best 2 out of 3. Take me through the start. What do you think?
Similar openers to previously, we're looking at 3 warriors in the beginning here for that early expansion, and Arthur finds a lighthouse, which is very nice, quite early on here, which is going to help him with the population growth in his capital. Big Dictator Bossman is also looking at getting that early lighthouse as well if he wants that. And a little bit interesting that he went south with that 3rd warrior, possibly because he wants to keep moving northwest maybe. But yeah, you see Arthur is blocked by these mountains here, which is a little bit annoying for him because it does restrict that movement. But goes for the double technology here, so he gets fishing and hunting, which is gonna allow him to level up that early capital here. And we might be looking at a turn 5, maybe turn 5, yeah, turn 5 giant, if he can get one more lighthouse, because he has 2 hunting, two animals and 2 fishes there, yeah, so he's one population short. So goes for the explorer here, and he probably wants to get a lighthouse, which he didn't get. Ooh, that is unlucky. So mind you, if he had gotten that lighthouse, he would have gotten a giant next turn. But just didn't get it, unfortunate. I think he wanted to get that extra boost. But yeah, both players also moving into fishing. And look at this map. It looks like they're
sorry,
divided.
just didn't quite get that northern lighthouse there.
Yeah, just
bit of a shame. Now, I interrupted you, and I'm going to steal your point. They are divided by a body of water, at least a large body of water here that we can see. Now, if you had to take over right now, I ask you this every time because it gives a great little bit of insight. Who do you think you'd rather take the side of? If you had to jump into this game, who are you playing as?
Well, you take a look at Arthur's land access, right? Look at these villages that he has access to. So he's got 2 more villages all the way up there. For Big D, I'm not really seeing a lot of villages to the northeast here and the southeast, right? So it's looking like Arthur is going to be, just purely due to the fact that he has better land access, he's going to get more villages. Now, what will those villages mean for him in the long term?
There you go.
Yeah, it's going to mean that.
It took you a long time to get there in emphasis. I like it. I like it. Nice little metaphor.
Sometimes, man, you struggle, eh? But goes for meditation. What an interesting play. So he realizes that they're separated by that ocean here and goes for meditation, which is something that we don't really see that often.
Yeah.
But again, with Luxidoor, that's why I love Luxidoor a lot. And earlier on, I told you it is becoming one of my more favorite tribes due to its versatility. So you have so many angles that you can play into, and this is what we see. This is what I like to see with these pro players. It's how they utilize that early technology. What do they spend it on here? The Big D gets his first giant, gets a nice upgrade there as well. And the question now is, will he go in for offense? You know, is he going to try and move in offensively? Because I think Arthur does want to see if he can, you know, get the Altar of Peace. And stars is huge here for him. Look at that.
Yeah, he's got quite a lot he can do with that. Now, it's worth mentioning that there could be a little bit of pressure on Arthur's side of things. Again, this is the first time we're seeing him on screen play since his victory in the World Championships last year. You have to think that might play on his mind. Maybe it's a source of comfort. He's thinking to himself, I've already beaten the best there is. Why can't I do it a second time? But then again, it could also be a source of discomfort. If he thinks himself too hard, overthinks it, and goes, I have so much pressure to perform.
And, you know, one thing I want to point out
Yep, please.
with Arthur here is look at that little raft there. I think that was a great move by him to place the port down, because this allows him to effectively cut off any potential movement by Big Dictator Bossman into those very far villages, all the way out there. Now, Bossman sees that, and he's like, okay, well, I at least want to try and get one of these villages, and you see Arthur is now securing that. So he wasn't too concerned with the other village there, because he knew he was going to get that. But it was that village that he just landed on, bordering the lake, that is going to be an important one for him, because it's going to give him total control of the north side of the map here, which is definitely going to allow for some interesting game here. And look at Big Dictator Bossman. He's also going to be able to lock down all of the south. So it's really going to be north versus south here. You know, south, southeast, northwest. And yeah, he's going to move that raft most likely onto that village. And he's going to use his warrior to step on the other one there. Now, economy-wise, very equal. Bossman is one village up at the moment. And remember, Arthur also has meditation. So he needs at least, 2-3 turns to get his Altar of Peace. So he's going to try and avoid any attacks. Now, if Bossman decides to go in here, that's going to be very tricky for Arthur.
Yes, indeed.
Because he, you know, what is he going to do? He has to decide, am I going to, you know, try and attack back? Or am I just going to try and hold and wait for that Altar of Peace monument, which gives an additional 3 population growth? And he finds another rune here. And mind you, he has climbing, so he could step on that. The question is he going to do it? You know? Is he going to try and break that Altar of Peace? Any damage dealt is going to break that progress for peace.
Surely he doesn't, right? Surely he'll just sit back for a little bit. And there's nothing really pushing him to attack, is there? He can secure his villages. There's no immediate threat coming in. Yeah, he might allow Bossman to get into a better position with his units, but he doesn't have that many. There's no sort of existential threat here, you know? Can you think of any reasons why, like, or any scenario where he would decide, no, I have to attack?
Not really. I mean, he just got philosophy as well, which indicates to me that he is, in his mind, thinking this is going to be a long game, which it most likely will. And the reason why is due to the map layout. You know, like you have a skinny 2-tile radius, you know, up there in the north that you can access by land. You have a little bit more access on the south, you know, 2 tiles here as well. But the rest is water. So whoever is going to, you know, whoever controls the lake here, I would say would be in the better position. But yeah, Bossman goes for climbing because he wants to secure
very good move.
The rune here, which I also agree is the correct play here. Now Arthur is.
Well, it never hurts to just get a little bit of damage on that giant, eh?
Yeah. Huh. That's interesting. I'm surprised that Bossman decided to not pursue that one village.
Yeah, me too. You think he thinks that he can't hold it?
Well,
then again, how can Arthur take it from him?
he has a little bit better water access. That's the thing with Arthur. Like if I look at this map layout, you know, Bossman's water access is mostly confined to the south there. So on the south, he's got already 2 ports. He's got 1 city with a port there. But you see that middle city, Kilos, which is very well sort of in the middle there, which is going to give Arthur a little bit more control on the northeast side of the map here, towards the south as well. And he's also most likely now going to get that other village there, which again, I think Bossman made a little bit of a mistake. He should have secured that village, because it's going to allow Arthur to slowly but surely box him in, especially with the water access. Now, goes for mathematics here, which is a very, I would say, good move. And the reasoning is, you take a look at his water access, right? He's got 2-3 rafts on the water now. He's got a giant on the water as well. He's got philosophy, which make all of his technology cheaper. He's gonna be 2 cities up after this turn, and potentially even 3 cities up. Well, not really, because Bossman is gonna acquire that other village, but 2 cities up. What he can do is he can create a little bit of space and control on the water, and he can position those catapults very comfortably in the back here, and really deal with any threat that Bossman may pose on the lake, on the water here. Goes in for the kill, gets the first one of the game. And again, Arthur can't really attack, right? Due to the fact that he's got a meditation going.
What turn is it that he can't? Because it's 5 turns, so what turn did he get the...
I think he got it 4
8?
turns ago. Yeah. Turn 6-7, I think. Around 6-7.
Right.
Yeah.
Well done, mate. Okay. We're gonna move on.
What is it? Why? What?
I'm not getting caught up in this youth nonsense.
What,
I can't do it.
nonsense?
I'm too old.
What are you talking about? I don't get it. Is there something I'm missing?
Of course there is. Now, this is actually the first time that we've seen or will see the Ultra Piece. If, of course, he grabs him. I don't think any other player has managed to pull off. I think Luxidoor was in a very unique position to be able to actually do that. I think if you were to do it later on in the game, obviously not being able to attack your opponent for 5 turns, very, very difficult. Goes for a border expansion, okay?
Okay, that is very interesting here. Yeah, no, I think that was a good border growth. Reasoning being is because Arthur knows that he has a village in, right where the Bossman's giant is. So if he were to border growth, then first of all, he could create a bridge where that mountain is over to his land. So by doing that, he is now controlling when the bridge is placed and if a bridge is going to be placed. So, for that reason alone, I think that was a good play, but he also kind of cuts him off from placing more ports closer to his villages. So, it's one of these plays that, you look at and you think, okay, well, how can I, in this position, get as much control and mitigate anything happening in the future? And this is kind of like foresight in a sense, where he knew that was a potential threat and he wanted to place that then and there, but also look at the forest, right? So it's going to set him up for a little bit better market spot if he wants that later on in the game, because this is most likely going to be a game that is going to go on for a bit, like I said earlier. But look at that, Bossman is going to fight for that village now, so this is what I like to see. Bossman has a plan as well. He's looking at this and he's thinking, you know, how am I going to establish control? Because this is all about control at this point. And both players know this. We'll most likely see markets, we'll most likely see, you know, a lot of technology, especially from Arthur, considering that he got philosophy, which drastically reduces the cost of technology by 33%, right? So he's a little bit more versatile at this stage because he's now going to be able to, well, essentially just have better tech access. And that technology is going to give him options, and options is very well needed in Polytopia.
Give me your odds then. Give me. I have to ask it at this point in the game. I never got to last game because it was so quick, that semi-final. But give me the odds of success for Arthur and for Big Dictator Boss Man here.
Well, this is looking like Arthur is gonna take this win, simply due to the fact that he is, you know, both players are very stable right now. But if you look at the trajectory in terms of cities, you know, for every single turn that Arthur is not allowing Bossman to capture that southern village there, well, the north, south in the middle there, the one final contested village, he's going to be a village up. And again, considering that he has philosophy, it's such a, you know, an overpowered technology if you're able to play and use that correctly, which in my opinion, I think he did very well. He saw early game that, well, there is a lake between us. There is most likely not going to be any fighting early on.
Oh, border growth there.
And
very
yeah,
nice.
look at that. Look at that border growth. Very nice. Cuts his port connections off.
Look at the stars difference now. It was very much in Arthur's favor, but that single move has taken it more in line. I will say, I do like what he has going on in the initial push for the lake. I do think if he's able to, dominating the water here, of course, will help him out a bunch. Now, I don't know if he has the follow through. Two giants, hard to compete with. We'll see what that ruin has to offer him as well. But I think Arthur doesn't want to leave it too long to get into the water. Otherwise, he might find it a bit more tricky, even with his better water access. And there we go. Straight into the water.
I think the correct play here is the long term, right? So I don't think Arthur is in any, you know, rush to be very aggressive here. Obviously, you can't know, but he has philosophy. Bossman does not have philosophy, which makes his technology a lot more expensive. So if Arthur just plays this out, he's going to be able to have more economic growth in his villages, which is going to give him more economy, obviously, late game. And while he's doing that, he's just going to slowly but surely outcompete Bossman in terms of units and in terms of defense. And at that stage, you launch an attack. Because, you know, if he were to launch an attack now, what's his game? What's his plan? Where is this going to go? He's got two giants, one raft, two rafts, all the way up in the north there, at the edge of the lake. It's not gonna do much, you know. So I think what Arthur's game plan here is he just needs to hunker down, hold on, defend, and while also having control as much as he possibly can of the lake. Because if he loses the lake, it's going to be a lot harder for him to come back. But you are seeing that he is, you know, trying to push. It goes for a rider there as well. I think he wants to use those to really just push back should an offense come, an attack come from Big D here. Pops the rider. Okay. So he's positioning his scouts into the warrior's range here. Yeah, look at that. Gets the hit on the giant there, and look at the catapult. So that is a very well positioned catapult, and I think if you can get one or two more, He's going to really apply some pressure onto Arthur here. So...
You never did give me the percentages.
Oh, I didn't, did I?
No.
I would say...
I was sorry, I was expecting that, and I'm not going to.
No, I'll give it 65% towards Arthur at this stage.
Okay.
35 towards Bossman.
So what does Bossman need to do here, in your mind? What's like the singular thing that could change this game for him? Or is he just relying on an Arthur mistake?
No, I don't think he's just relying on an Arthur mistake. I think what he wants here is he wants to control the water. He wants to make sure that Arthur does not launch an attack. But again, I don't think he knows that... he should probably know because I think he can see the altar of peace. So he might be thinking that, oh, Arthur does have the philosophy. So if I'm in Bossman's shoes and I see that he has philosophy and this map layout, I'm thinking I need to try and be a little bit aggressive here. I need to try and pressure him so that he does not get the economic advantage here over me. Because Bossman is currently 3 technologies away from getting markets, right? He does have mathematics, which gives him the sawmills. But you want to, if you really want to boost your economy, you're gonna have to move into markets. And Arthur's access to markets is a lot cheaper, plus he already has writing, right? So he's 2 technologies away from moving into markets here, which is going to give him a huge economic advantage. So if I'm Arthur, I am just hunkering down, holding on. If I'm Bossman, I'm going to try and be aggressive to catch Arthur in a turn or 2 where he's more focused on his economy here, if he does. Again, with these players, you never know due to the skill level, right? So they may be able to see things that even we don't, right? And what Bossman is...
That's what makes him good. That's why he's playing and we're casting.
That's very true. And what also is interesting here is, you know, Bossman is really pushing and fighting to hold off Arthur's access to that village here in the north, in the middle there. So it goes back. He's going to try and...
I don't know if that's a winning battle for him. Again, we've seen Arthur, he got sailing, was able to prevent Bossman from holding that village long enough to take it. And all he has to do is sort of just pop 2 shots off on that warrior. He can probably do it maybe 2 turns from now, but certainly not soon. But again, I think you're right. Bossman needs to go into the water. He is going into the water. Arthur needs to make sure he doesn't leave it too long. Like we say, he has set himself up better for the long term. But it's never a good idea to sort of let your enemy, to give your enemy any sort of advantages. Again, we saw in the last game, Meisterlampe had an advantage, pressed it ruthlessly.
Yeah.
We want to see the same thing from Arthur here.
Well, look at the giant next to Kilois, right? That giant is most likely going to go towards that village. And when it does, Bossman doesn't really have a lot he can do to defend against that giant. He's got these scouts, yeah, moves in there. And he's just going to keep hacking away at him. So, unless Bossman can somehow get his own giant up in the city of Nice, all the way towards the south there, southeast, he's not going to be able to hold that village. 2 scouts, 3 health, 4 health, very low HP. And Arthur's got the giant in the back, so that's going to be a big threat. If that giant gets anywhere near those rafts, you position it onto the land, you keep it in the water. My take is most likely going to want to try and steal Nice. Because look, I mean, you know, the game is you know, it's moving at a rather slow pace here, where most of the action is happening on the water. And you know, both players are not really advancing anything in the east, on the east side here, they're all trying to now fight towards, you know, that center village that is still uncontested. But Bossman is currently setting himself up for his, you know, an attack here. Looks like it's going to be interesting if he positions his catapult in between those 3 units there a little bit further, which will give him a direct access to hit any unit that is being spawned in the port, but also in the capital. So we're kind of looking at 2 sides of the map here. A big threat in Uxni, anything can happen. But we're also looking at, Nice. What is happening there? Okay, so he maybe wants to go for another giant there? Is he going to move his... He's going to push his catapult. And then hit the giant. Look at that.
Oh, my favorite games are the ones where we can't really pass what either player's overarching strategy is, or at least short-term strategy. Because I found myself baffled by a couple of these decisions, and they end up being the right ones. What do you think of this collection around Uxni troops?
Well, that's the thing. I think Bossman is setting himself up for an offense on that capital. I don't see any immediate Houdini threats either from Arthur. I mean, if he were to send, say, a scout into that capital, which he very well could, because this is completely open, right? But that is a huge loss for Bossman there on the south side of the map. Gets his catapult popped by the scout, putting it down to 1 HP, lands on the village, which is 100% going to be Arthur's at this stage. And now he's looking like he's going to slowly move into markets. Goes for roads, obviously, first, which is the logical path before you can go for the markets here. But look at his sawmill positioning there. He can place a beautiful sawmill right in between those 2 sawmills. He's going to get a nice little economy boost should he go for that. But Bossman needs to do something here, because if he loses that whole east side, he's going to be pressured from every side now. Which is why I think earlier on in the game, and I'll probably circle back to that post-game, but he should have landed on that village, because look at all the units and all the resources that have been spent in fighting that one village. Personally, I don't see why Bossman would not decide to capture that village earlier in the game when he had his raft right next to it. Because that could have been another line of defense, another warrior, another unit that he can then use to defend and place more troops onto the water here. So I'd really love a post-game interview to kind of hear his thought process. I hope we get to that point. To kind of like hear what the players are thinking and how they play it. So
it does feel like we've got 2 almost like wrestlers circling each other, right? Yeah. Ramming. Here we go.
Okay,
nice.
Look at that.
Very well done.
He goes in for the kill. He's going to probably go into Uxni as well, maybe prevent him. And Arthur might be baiting him here, Arthur knows that Bossman can freely move in. It's going to reduce his stars slightly. No big threat for Arthur, because he can easily unsiege that with his scouts, with his riders that he's got in the back there. He's going to have to need a... he's really going to have to need a giant there, but look at that defense. He is able to keep Arthur off of that village for another turn. If he places a giant there, then he won't be able to secure that. But he is in no immediate threat to lose his city of Nice. His scout can kill the catapult. Arthur's scout can kill that catapult, but then again, it's not going to do much.
Like you say, it could be almost like a feint, you know? Let him focus on this sort of push in the west, just while he quietly and slowly picks up that village, picks up Nice, and then he can return to defend. However, I will say this. Arthur now has to respond, has a lot to do. Maybe he didn't see it coming. We look at the fog of war. Maybe he just didn't see this coming. I mean, I don't know that he did. Let's see. All right. The scout started his mountain defense. There we go. And again, he does lose out on those stars. It's not a phenomenal loss, but it is something. And oftentimes, Polytopia is less about holding the winning position for 100% of the game, and more about having a winning position at the same moment as your opponent is experiencing some weakness or is in the stage of growth, and then exploiting that. But there you go. Arthur able to respond in no uncertain terms, pushes him off the cities. Those are mine, he says. And now claims the village. Doesn't put the giant on there. Goes for a warrior instead. And there goes the catapult as well. What are your thoughts now?
Well, I mean, Bossman can maybe delay that capital from being sieged by one more turn, but after that, I don't see how he's going to keep defending that. Which means that village is going to go to Arthur in the next 2 turns, if not the next. Bossman's only real strategy and hope here is if he can apply a lot of pressure onto his capital, Uxni, and potentially even Kilos. You see, he's moving both of his giants right next to his borders there, lands those giants onto the land, which means that if his giant now is going to hit Bossman's giants, they're going to retaliate. If he were to keep those giants on the water, then those giants do not retaliate. So this is a great move by Bossman here, and I think this is Bossman's only strategy here, is to really hope that he can capture those villages and make a move as fast as he possibly can here to kind of counteract the fact that Arthur is gaining a lot of momentum on the east side there. And this is what's going to have to happen. You know, I mean, Bossman right now has got 2.5 minutes. Arthur's got 4.5 minutes, 4:45. So they got a lot of seconds and minutes to think here. I mean, Arthur, you know, points-wise, stars-wise, city-wise, he's in the lead. You know, he is in the lead. How long that will be, should he be able to capture Kilois, we'll see. But Bossman also needs to consider what happens as soon as those giants land onto the village there of Lokis, or potentially even Nice. I'm curious to see whether or not Arthur is gonna, because he's got 2 giants there, right? He can either send one to Nice, one to Lokis, or he can send both to one village to really secure it. And Bossman doesn't really have a lot of, you know, big units to deal with those giants. He's got 1 scout. But yeah, that giant now. Let's look at the movement. So yeah, he goes for that village. Kills the scout there, deals with that threat. Decides to heal, positions his giants in the back, and he knows, Arthur knows now at this stage that, you know, he can defend that. 3 giants, a catapult in the back. I think he's ice cold at this stage. I think Arthur is ice cold. He knows he's not going to be able to siege my capital, that is. Well, Kilois, that is another question. He would need to do a giant push if he wants to unsiege that, because Bossman has a 40 HP giant that he can move into that village with.
How do you revise your earlier percentages then? Or is it still 65-35 in your mindset?
it's more 75-25 at this stage. There is a chance for Bossman to win this. It's looking very, very hard. But if he plays this in a meticulous way, there may be a way back. What would need to happen is he'd need to secure one of these center villages. You know, because like look at Bossman now. He's been on the offense for a couple of turns, and you know, what's happening here is he knows that, you know, Arthur is very close to a lot of technology. He's in the lead in terms of villages. So Bossman's only hope here is to try and counteract that by getting a village of his own, or maybe even 2. So he's not going to get his capital anytime soon. That is just not going to happen due to the fact that, well, he's got 3 giants plus the catapult there. But that middle city here, Arthur's only way to boot that giant off is by popping a giant. That is his only way.
You think
And
he
goes
can?
for... well, with his stars in philosophy, I think he might be able to. I think he's also saved a park, or not a park, but a monument, if I'm not mistaken. Because he's got the Altar of Peace. He just got Killer Monument. 1, 2, I see 2 monuments here. Has he placed the 3rd? I don't see. Do you see it? You see 3 monuments? Either way.
Are my eyes deceiving me? I don't think so.
Either way, he's gonna get. He's got 7 cities now. If he doesn't have it already, he's also gonna get the. He's gonna get the Grand Bazaar here. So he's gonna be able to. Yeah, there's the Houdini. Look at that.
Here we go.
Houdini, 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 and Lath. Come on, poof. Go on.
Ta-da! My favorites.
Yeah.
And
there we
Giant be gone. Interestingly, oh, there we go. That's all it takes.
Resigns.
A Houdini
Resigns.
is all it takes to not only disappear a giant, but Big Dictator's Bossman's chances of winning that match. Ladies and gentlemen, Arthur reigns supreme, maintaining a 100% record right now since his win. So, talk me through that. You were convinced from the start. You started at 60, 65%, 75%. You always felt that Arthur was going to win that game. Talk me through what it was that was so pivotal about Arthur's strategy. Again, that meditation early in the Altar of Peace, I think, came into it. But give me your take.
Well, yeah, like you said, Altar of Peace, meditation, beautiful, beautiful, you know, really well played. It's the fact that you're able to see these, you know, predict 3, 4, 5 turns in the future. You saw that there was a huge lake in between them, right? So he knew that fighting is most likely not going to happen for the foreseeable turns. And also the fact that he had a little bit better land access to villages, right? Let's not forget about that. He had a huge space, an area of land that he could move into, whereas Bossman only had that narrow stretch all the way on the border, on the edge of the map that he could move. Now, moving a little bit further, Bossman at a certain point should have really, and I mentioned this in game, he should have captured that village. I think that was a mistake. Maybe it's something I'm not seeing, but again, I think that would have made a big difference because having that village would have given him more units to play, and a little bit more access towards the water. He would have had an additional port connection. So risking it by going for that other village when you also had the warrior there, I think that was a mistake. But again,
agree, yeah.
I'd love to hear his thoughts. I'll probably DM him and be like, "Hey man, what was that move?" Just so I can, for my own level of
His
like,
response will be,
understanding.
"I heard what you said. I heard you said I made a mistake. I don't make mistakes." Actually, if you remember, I threw the first game so I could win the next 2. Let's see if that comes to life. Let's not forget, this is a best 2 of 3 to find out who will try to challenge the... how would you even describe my Salam's control over the Luxidoor tribe? I was going to go with magnanimous, but that implies a degree of, like, I don't know, positivity. He just kind of crushes his enemies wherever he goes. But let's not look too far ahead. Like I said, we have a second game, and if Big Dictator Bossman comes out with a win here, it will be 1-2-1. The second game of the semi-final kicks off right now. Take me through their start.
All right, so little giant there, preventing him from doing a quick lighthouse discovery. But both players advancing towards the center of the map. None of them are moving in towards the back. Nice little access to the water here for Bossman. That could both be positive and negative, depending on what other villages he's going to find towards the east there. But yeah, looking at Arthur here, he's got a lead of one more village over Bossman here by 1 turn. But Bossman does find a nice little rune here, so it's always exciting, these early runes, because you never know what that could be. Arthur gets his own rune here. Now we saw that Arthur did get a rune last game. He got resources, which is incredible to get early game. But yeah, similar playstyle in terms of overarching strategy here. If you both take a look at their choices of openers, I think it's been very similar for every single Luxidoor play. So we're kind of discovering a meta here. By the way, a little bit unfortunate he didn't get the lighthouse there, but that happens. But back to my point. So if we take a look at how they all play, 3 opening warriors, they are saving their stars until they get 10. And then at 10 stars, they decide to double buy technology. In this case, Arthur goes for hunting orc. Bossman goes for hunting fishing here. Oh, that is big. That is big. Gets a giant turn 5. Look at that. And he's going to be able to maybe go for a nice little... No, 1 star off. Okay. So he could pop his park there, get the stars, and then... and does he go for Explorer? Or no, I don't see why he would. Because he knows that he's not there. Okay, interesting. But gets a swordsman here.
Position here.
Yeah, well, looking at this, Arthur knows where Bossman is right now, right?
Yes.
He can see that the park is placed. He knows that he's got the giant. He's going to go for the explorer. Very unlucky with that explorer.
Oh.
And
that's not... okay. Calling that an explorer is a little bit of a stretch. I mean, that man's a hiker. Like he did a couple of rounds, but it's not exactly. He didn't discover much, did he?
He hiked and walked right back.
That's it.
Obviously, very unlucky there because of the mountain that was in the way. So I actually favor Bossman's positioning here. He's more free to move. What Arthur needs to do here is he needs to probably go for fishing here, get water access, and then try and expand there as fast as he can. But yeah, he wants his own giant to get his own Park of Fortune as quickly as possible here. The only thing that is a little bit unfortunate is that his capital is not connected to the rest of the lake. So even if he does get those 3 villages that he has right now with ports, none of them are going to currently connect with his capital. Whereas Bossman, he's got the capital very well connected onto the water, very well connected to his second city there in Exiox, and is about to be 4th city in 2 turns, all the way towards the east there, so the southeast. And, you know, none of the players have found each other yet, so they're going to get a nice little boost as the game progresses. You know, the more stars you have, obviously, the higher the amount of, you know, the higher the points, the higher the amount of stars that you will get. Finds him here, gets 7 stars. That's 2,500. Oh, look at that village. If only Bossman had vision, he could very easily move on to that village. But I don't think I would. I think both players, what they want right now, and Bossman doesn't know this, but... well, he does. Because he doesn't... yeah. You want to move horizontally now. I mean, sorry. North. You just want to go as far north as possible. If I'm Bossman, I am locking down those northern villages.
Yes. In the same way that, to be clear, that Arthur did in the last game.
Yes. I remember, you know, because when you listen to professional players like this talk about their games, one of the things that Arthur said, and which also when he was breaking down his game in the last World Championship, one of the things that he emphasized was movement and how he rushed certain villages to cut off his opponent. Because if Bossman in this position, who currently has a little bit of an edge on the water, is able to, say, capture a lot of these northern villages there that are still uncontested, Arthur might be able to lock down the closest one to him all the way in the north. But say if Bossman gets the other two there, the one that is completely alone, that little island there, and the one next to the mountain in the north, if he gets those, it's going to be very hard for Arthur to do something here. So he decides to lock this one down. He's most likely going to secure the one in between the island and the one he's about to capture now as well. Gets the first kill here. But Arthur is going to be one city down after this turn, or after next turn, sorry. How long that will last, we'll see. But decides to take that warrior out. You're like, no, I'm not letting you discover the lighthouse, buddy.
Don't give me percentages then, I ask every time.
Percentages. I'm favoring Bossman here. I know that, because the thing is, I know that Arthur is a very good player, right? But even the best of the blessed, really good players, they also need to, because Bossman is also an incredibly good player, I think, people also call him Astria, but both of these players are good, but you can't deny a world champion.
No, and this is why I'm saying I think the start, I like the look of Arthur's start. It's not as good as Bossman's, in my humble opinion, but I think he's got enough to work with such that he can make it work. I do believe that. I will say the early CXS for Bossman, I think, is a tricky one for Arthur to overcome in his current scenario. But if everyone can do it, it is going to be him. Now let's see what Bossman does on this turn 10. He is ahead. If he could just keep on just pushing that little by little, just a little bit further each time, and not make any mistakes. Because if he does make any mistakes, Arthur is going to pounce on them. Nice. Well, that's going to be a tricky one for Arthur.
Yeah,
that's going to be very tricky.
That is well played by Bossman here. He positions his giant right next to that village. And Arthur doesn't really have a response. He doesn't have technology to kind of boot him out of there. I don't think he has the monuments either. 0 kills, no Grand Bazaar, and he's already placed his Park of Fortune, so I just don't see how he's going to be able to defend that. Now, I think Arthur's play here is to try and secure both of these northern villages there as quickly as he can, and that vision right there is very big for Bossman here. It gives him a lot of information. He just didn't get the lighthouse, so unlucky there. Because he would have gotten the monument there, which really would have given him a big boost. But alas. Now, Arthur doesn't have scouts, so he is currently not going to be a unless he goes for it next turn. I think it's going to cost him 12 stars, if I'm not mistaken, which gives him 1 more star, or 5 more stars to go for the, if he wants to pop that one. Okay, no, he's not. Okay. Huh. Decides to not spend his stars here. This is, one of the things
he has to have a macro strategy. Arthur always has a macro strategy.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm leaning into it too much. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I this is gonna be tricky for sure. What do you think Arthur could do?
Well, Arthur is it's not a similar game as last game. He's a very versatile player, but then again,
yes.
Bossman.
Well, there's versatility, and then he is outnumbered by every measurable metric. He has fewer stars, fewer units, fewer cities. Fewer kills, and most importantly, he's going to struggle to try and grab those other cities. Plus, Bossman already very well established in the water. Whether or not he dies instantly, it's going to be a slow bleed for Arthur unless he can do something here. And it's going to be questionable at that. One thing he does have on his side is a little bit of time. You can see that Arthur takes his turns very, very, very quickly indeed, and does his thinking on his opponent's turn, which means when it's his turn, as you can see, he instantly knows exactly what it is he's going to do. Meaning that he's very hard to pressure, but it does leave a little bit of an opening when it comes to, how would I put this? Baiting in certain actions. Because once he's locked in, you can see he already knows exactly what he's going to do.
Mm-hmm. It's a nice giant there. And mathematics as well, which means that he's now going to be able to set up a good defense of catapults all the way in the back there in his capital. But I also really like Bossman's villages. Look at that. Yeah, this is looking very tough for Arthur here. I mean, losing that, it was a little bit expected. I mean, both players, Arthur knew that he was very close to, oh, gets that one as well. Look at that. Okay, so, whew, this is going to be a very interesting game. A lot of pressure from Bossman here, a lot of pressure. I'm really looking at, again, those villages there that have great access to the water. It's going to give him these, it's definitely going to give him Grand Bazaar. He's going to capture this village right now, which is going to give him another port connection. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cities. Yeah, so he's 1 city away, well, 2 technically, from getting the Grand Bazaar there.
Where does Arthur go? It's a tricky one. I will say Arthur also very loath to resign. Generally speaking, will attempt to sort of fight to the end. We've seen that in the grand finals as well. So he's going to be less thinking about when does he resign, but more thinking about, okay, well, let's now take this the distance, find that longer route.
Yeah, and did you see what he did in Uxlow just now?
Talk to me.
He chopped the forest.
Nice.
And this is one of the things that a lot of pro players will do, and newer players typically don't really know about this, but whenever one of your villages is about to be sieged, one of the things that you can do is destroy or chop all the resources in the village that your opponent is about to acquire, so that they're going to have a harder time to level that up. Now, if you have chivalry, you're able to destroy things that you've already placed, making that village really useless because...
That's not very chivalrous.
Yeah. And here he will get the last lighthouse. Nice.
Yeah.
All right. He's got the monument now, which is going to help him. And I think Bossman here, what he needs to do now is just to keep applying pressure. You do not want to give Arthur any kind of opening here. Don't give him time to think. Don't give him time to build up his economy. You want to take him out as fast as you can and really snowball off of the huge village advantage that Bossman currently has. It's 8 cities to 3. 8
cities to 3. Some would argue an insurmountable one.
Yeah, this is
very, very tricky.
This is a similar game to Meisterlamp's game, where he was so ahead of cities over Cabanos here. I don't see a way out for Arthur at this stage. He can try and hunker down, but his capital doesn't have any walls. Goes for free spirit here, okay. Oh, I think he's, yeah, he's resigning. What is it? Look at that. He's resigning. Chivalry.
He's not just resigning, I think he's destroying everything in his cities before he resigns.
He's sending a message, everyone. He's sending a message here.
Oh, that's really
He's
funny.
sending a message. He went for chivalry to destroy.
It's a real meticulous destruction, this.
Yeah, nah, he's sending a message. He's like, look at this. I'm making these cities useless. I'll go down. But I'm not gonna let you get anything out of these villages.
He's got climbing as well. This is the most dramatic resignation. He's not even resigning, by the way. He's gonna be like, no, I'm destroying everything. Walk through my scorched wastelands.
Yeah.
He's not even gonna resign. No, you don't need to. Look, just move. You don't need to. You don't need to do all this. You don't need to. Bossman, you really won. You do not need to do all this. It's stop playing the game normally.
He's not taking any chances. He's like, I don't know what this guy might be doing. You know, this is a trick. But no, I mean, he destroyed his parks. He's destroyed everything. There was no way Arthur is going to come back from this, obviously. Yeah, I mean, this was a very interesting game. I think Bossman played that very well. A little bit unlucky with Arthur on the spawn there, considering that he was really forced to go for you know, the quick expansion with the fishing onto the water there. Had he maybe gotten to that island a little bit quicker or first, he could have been in a little bit better position. But then again, Bossman did get the first giant. He did get the Park of Fortune. He did get the early economy. So yeah, I think that was well played. Very well played by Bossman there.
Yeah, well, he's still playing, which is
he's still playing, yeah, but the spawn did favor Bossman today, and he played accordingly, you know, like and that's the thing with Polytopia.
He doesn't need to do. It's 20 units to 0, dude. To be fair, this is a kind of a response to him when he sees that Arthur's destroyed those units and done this. This is his response to be like, well, I'm now gonna take my time.
I like how
and taking everything else.
I like how he's not even sieging. Look at that. Bossman is like, nope, I'm not gonna siege.
Well, let's not forget, if it does go a full hour, it will.
Yeah, there we go. Resigns.
Finally,
well played.
BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN does make it 1-1. Very, very well played from Bossman there. Of course, had the spawn advantage, did not relinquish it. Arthur, mild crash out at the end. A funny one. I don't think he was ever concerned. That does take it to 1-1. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I think that was a good game for Bossman. Very good game for Bossman. You know, he needed that win. He needed to come. Yes. You know, he's now at 1-1, and he's got a chance.
Taking a point off of the world champion. That's got to feel good. You know, gods can bleed, Arthur can lose, and that's the story of that game for me, at least.
Yeah, similar to Batman v Superman. You know, do you bleed? Remember that scene? No, it was definitely looking very positive for Bossman throughout the game, especially after you saw a little bit more of the map layout there and his access to the villages. And I think the fact that he saw that he had that second village all the way up top there made him choose fishing as opposed to, say, hunting or right? Because that's the thing with Luxidoor. When you're playing Luxidoor, most of these players, we've seen the meta now. 3 warrior opener and then expand, and then right before they're about to capture a village, they spend those 10 stars, 5 in one technology and 5 in another, so that they can level up their capital and potentially then their second village and their third village.
Talk to me about this. You touched on this, just to interrupt for a second. Do you think that versatility is also a problem when it comes to some of these players?
Good question. Yeah, I think a lot of these players, what they do is they will optimize for, you know, certain openers, certain strategies, and they are very reliable, right? Like when let's say you play 100 games and you've tried one opener that outperforms the others by 2, right? You're obviously going to always go for that opener. But in Polytopia, with these spawns and with especially Luxidoor, which doesn't start with any technology, this question is a little bit harder. So, you know, after the 3 warrior opener, whichever tech they get kind of decides the direction of the game. Now, most of the time they're going to go for org, hunting, or fishing. These are the main ones, right? Like climbing doesn't give you technology or any capital growth, and neither does riding. So it's out of those 3, which 2 do they typically get? And out of those, you know, if you pick the wrong one, you're going to be 2, 3, 4 turns behind.
Yep. Yep. And we saw Arthur pick very carefully in that first one. Now, Arthur is going to have to play very carefully this one. One single mistake could be all it takes for a very talented Big Dictator Bossman to stop him from going to the finals. If you are under any doubts that Arthur was trying, let them be put to rest here today. Can Big Dictator Bossman get to the finals, or will it be Arthur's day? Take me away on the starts here.
Well, a little bit better opening for Arthur here, spawn-wise. Bossman gets his 2 villages there as well, very nicely. They're both very well connected to the water here. I can't really see where Bossman's water access leads to. Does it go, further, or does it stop? But, look at, again, the opener here. Fishing, hunting for Arthur. I predict org plus hunting for, or maybe, no, he's not going to go fishing here. Org plus hunting here for Bossman as his opening technology. He's obviously considering here. That's why he's taking long. And doesn't go for the double technology. Interesting. Decides to level up instead. Okay. So he probably wanted to then decide, what is he going to go for here?
Well, this explorer then travels all the way. Will he make it? Not quite. Reveals more of the map to us now. So obviously, Polytopia, a game where information is king here. We've seen oftentimes the player that has more knowledge of the map. I mean, just look at the difference. Big Dictator Bossman with very little knowledge of the world around him, whereas Arthur has comparatively quite a lot. We've seen Arthur do this quite a few times. I mean, in the last game, an explorer didn't really explore anything, but Arthur still went with him either way. Do you think that's a big part of sort of Arthur's strategy here? Always to try and get as much map knowledge, map control as possible in that regard?
Well, again, map knowledge is huge in Polytopia. The more map knowledge you have, the better decisions you can make. And, one wrong decision, we know, can cost you the game. So the more information that you have to work with, the better you are in terms of winning the game. So I think that map vision is huge. I think that what he's doing is very good here. And looking at Bossman here as well, I in hindsight now, I really like the fact that he didn't go for fishing, because that strait of the lake he's blocked there, right? It doesn't lead to anything. So I think that was the correct play. But yeah, both players see each other here. And one of the things that I'm going to be looking for is defense on the north side, because both players spawn in the north. So now it's a question of who gets that access to the southern expansion as fast as possible. Arthur went for fishing, so he does have ports, which means that he's got 2 tiles of movement now if he moves across the water, which means that he's most likely going to be able to expand a little bit faster than Bossman. Long term, that might actually set him up in a much better position. So I think for Bossman here, if he wants to compete with that, he's going to have to move and expand rather fast towards the south to acquire that village, which does have the water access. But yeah, he also needs to defend. And look at Arthur, he's got his giant moving in there. So I think... Oh, goes for riding. Look at that.
He's at his best when he is aggressive at the end of the day, is Arthur.
We've seen this before. Gets 2 villages there. That is very, very, very helpful for Bossman here. 2 villages is going to put him in a very good position. He doesn't know that Arthur has the riders yet, and he doesn't really know that a huge attack is coming in. But yeah, he really gets the he gets his own little giant here, like I said, which is good. He can place his Park of Fortune maybe towards in Uspo, and maybe even go for a wall. It wouldn't be unlikely. He places it in the back there.
Perhaps not. Now Arthur's turn. Let's see what he can do from here. He's starting to strike south, which I think is a very good move. We did see in that first game, of course, that Arthur going for those villages is it did win him that game. And again, the early pressure here does force Big Dictator Bossman to think. As Darren pointed out, he doesn't know what's coming his way. Big Dictator Bossman is going to be playing as usual. We're going to have to see now. He gambles. Oh, no, riding. Maybe he does see what's coming because, again, it's Arthur putting on the pressure. It's a little bit of an early gamble, but we know that he's not a risk-averse player. Now pushing his giant down south, following up with a couple of riders, and I think he'll be in a really good place to sort of repel this. And then, of course, as Darren was saying, those two villages to the south are definitely going to be his. But a ruin and a village now for Arthur. Maybe that will contain some... And another village.
And
we'll
another
have to
village.
see. Ruins
yeah.
have been... Oh, there we go. Hello. Ruins have been incredibly pivotal in some games, and of course absolutely useless in others. We had a arguably, in my opinion, the final, the Zabassi final between Willibom and Giustini Linguini. Giustini had every advantage that there could be, but 3 ruins back to back, giving him sailing, I believe it was sailing, ramming, and stars were exactly what he needed to maintain parity with Giustini, which actually ended up with him playing so well, he won that game, even though, frankly, there was a point where we had completely written him off and thought within 3 turns he would lose the game. So these ruins can be incredibly impactful, but it's not a strategy that you can necessarily plan around.
No, that's very true. Runes are, pure RNG. They're pure luck, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes they can have a huge payoff. Other times you can get you can use a warrior, go back, and then end up with a swordsman that is not going to do much for a lot of turns. The thing about runes, you want immediate payoff as fast as you possibly can, so that they're actually able to contribute to the fight then and there. But yeah, you see that now Bossman is and was able to move towards the south here and get a hold of those villages, which is very good for him here if he's going to have a chance. And it's looking like, Arthur now with 3 villages. I mean, obviously he found 2 now, so they're going to be equal in terms of villages. Decides to go for the ruin instead. So he's probably hoping for a nice little boost, maybe stars. Mm-hmm. If not stars, maybe an explorer. But even if he could have probably gotten an explorer off of that southern village there. So I'm probably thinking he's hoping for maybe technology, population, or stars is my bet. Either 3 are good. Stars is of course the best because it just gives him the most options. But, if we focus our attention to the center here, we see that both of these players have an equal amount of units on both of their sides, right? So it's not looking like we're going to see a lot of action unless one of them really decides to go aggressive and move in here. Bossman is in the lead, though.
Yes.
Okay, so he's going to go in forward. Here.
Picks up the first kill, unless I'm mistaken.
No, that's the 3rd kill. Oh, his first.
Kill, yeah. His first. My apologies.
Yeah. Moves in. Is he going to move his giant? No, he's going to keep it there, right? He doesn't want to move that in.
It's an interesting playground that they find themselves in now, because both of them have the ability to go, I was going to say abroad, further afield, let's say.
Yeah. And
obviously pick up those villages and develop from there. But this is kind of where the initial contest is, decided by Arthur. And Big Dictator Bossman, seeing this sort of aggressive push, has managed to stall it.
Yeah, you see Arthur just got stars. This is exactly what he wants. Goes into mathematics here. Gets a little bit of vision, puts some pressure onto that one village there. And it's kind of forcing Bossman to respond to that, either by hitting the rider or by just placing another warrior there. Either way, it's going to be a little bit something that Bossman is going to have to deal with. Now, if we then look at now Arthur here, he's got 2 rafts plus a giant onto the water here. I think one of the things that could be a nice opening for Arthur here is if he can move that 1 giant into Nepo, which is going to allow him to maybe put a little bit of pressure onto his side, you know, because now he's going to have access from 2 sides. So if he can capture Nepo, that would put him in a very advantageous position. But interesting play here. Goes for archery. Bossman is now looking at playing a lot more offensive. Those archers are going to be able to do some damage from the back line. And I think that what Bossman wants to do here is he really wants to capitalize and try and play very aggressive here, which is really what he's leaning into. He has good vision as well. He can't really see what's happening in the fog of war all the way in the back there. And he doesn't know that Arthur has mathematics, so he doesn't know that there might be catapults lurking in the back there. Although there aren't any now, there will come a couple.
Is that a nice little bounce into the siege there?
Yeah. So that was
very good. I mean, again, we've been talking about the aggression of Arthur this entire time, but Big Dictator Bossman has shown himself to be a similarly aggressive player. And this is kind of what happens when you have 2 players that aren't afraid to push forwards and aren't that risk averse. You do get these kind of like sparking moments. You do get some of these larger plays, and it's a case of who has the large momentum to be able to push through. As we do see that rider deep in enemy territory.
Yeah. And I think that was Arthur's plan as well. Like, he knew that that rider was not going to siege anything by itself, but it was definitely going to be a distraction that Bossman had to deal with. And Bossman decided to simply, you know, position his unit in the back there, and obviously he went for archery plus an archer, which, you know, made him not reduce the warrior in the back there. He's easily going to be able to deal with that. But yeah, look at that. He's got a swordsman here, and this is the kind of thing you don't really want. You know, the ideal is, of course, if you can get a stars resources, right? Technology or population. So that one is now going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, probably 6, 7 turns away from any kind of combat.
Every time.
Yeah.
The man is insatiable.
What?
Nothing. We're gonna keep playing these games.
What are you talking about, dude? I was counting the tiles. Like, look at the swordsman positioning. If you count the tiles, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7th to get into POW. So it's 6, 7. But I'm probably thinking I'm missing something here. I don't know what it is, but okay. Either way,
we'll move on.
Yeah.
Okay, not Fantastic Explorer though.
You'll have to tell me after, by the way. So gets a little bit more vision there, and I think he was hoping to move a little bit more towards the north. But that 1 giant there is, of course, just hanging around. And I think Arthur wants some vision here towards, you know, the south. He wants to see what's going on behind that fog. But yeah, look at that catapult there. Is able to deal a lot of damage towards that giant there. And there is no way for Bossman to take that catapult out in the back. So yeah, very good defense here. Great vision. He's going to get the lighthouse. And he's 1 lighthouse short, right? He's only missing the northern lighthouse for the monument, which is going to be tricky for him to get at this stage. I'm not seeing him get that anytime soon, just looking at the villages and the potential explorers that he has. It sets up a very nice offense in the back here. And this is going to be good for Arthur to also deal with Bossman's offense here, because, you know, he's got 4-3 archers at this stage. And Bossman wants to really launch that attack towards Arthur here. The difference between the two, of course, is that you know, Arthur right now has been setting himself up for more of a long-term game plan by moving into mathematics and writing. Obviously, Bossman as well. He does have roads, he does have hunting. So it's not like he's too far away himself. But, you know, both players have options now to move into that, should it end up going that far. But very close this game, very close at this stage, right?
There's not pretty much to split them.
Units.
Yeah, both 17 units. Look at the kills, look at the cities, look at the score, look at the stars. The only difference, really discernible difference, is the clock timer, which, again, it's an insight into the psyche, but not much more than that. We've very, very rarely seen turns end prematurely because of a turn timer.
Yes.
There we go, a quick assault on their city, and now it's Big Dictator Bossman pushing the action.
So this is very nice utilization of these roads. Of course, he's positioning his archeries nice and close to the lake here, which is it might be a little bit risky in terms of that giant there, but I think it was the only way he was able to kind of kick off that giant there. He did some math, tried to see if it was possible, and it was. Obviously, Arthur is going to be able to unsiege. It's going to be an awkward unsiege though, because he's going to have to sacrifice, and, well, not necessarily sacrifice, but he can hit with his catapult first, that's for sure. But those archers in the back are also applying pressure, right? So what's going to happen, you have the giant that can take out the warrior. You have, I think Arthur has some riders in the back as well. Yeah, so he's got 2 riders. I'm curious to see the sequence of moves here, how he decides to do this. And look at that, sending that giant to Nepo as well for the pressure. That is definitely going to distract Bossman a little bit. This is another front that he now needs to defend. And Arthur's got the 4 warriors on the land towards the south versus Bossman's one warrior versus 1 archer. But there is a giant there. And that giant might pose a little bit of a threat.
Give me the percentages then. I've got to do it every time.
Ooh, I think I would say at this stage it's very even. I think it could go both ways. I'd say 50-50 in terms of map layout. In terms of skill, both of these players are very good. However, I think Arthur is a little bit more consistent in terms of his gameplay. So I'd probably give 55 to Arthur, just because I think he's a slightly better player than Bossman. But then again, you never know. You can be surprised, right?
Absolutely, and there goes the giant. There goes an attack from the catapult. And suddenly, it's Arthur. I mean, look at the kills difference, you know? And that's, in my opinion, the kills difference is, beyond the obvious, is one of the biggest scores to look at. Because if one player has double the amount of kills, triple the amount of kills, quadruple the amount of kills even in some cases, it is indicative of wasted resources on the part of the individual who has fewer kills. And certainly Arthur's going to be hoping to widen that gap as we go on. Remember, each star put into a killed unit is one that hasn't been, that could have been better placed.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think when it comes to these units, right, Bossman has sent a lot of cheap units in, 222, but that's, you know, what is that, 16 stars at the minimum that he's spent now trying to, you know, do something here. Arthur has been defending very well, you know, good trades as well. And I think, you know, what Bossman needs to now consider is, how am I going to defend the city of Neep? Because if he loses that to a giant, nonetheless, it's going to be a big threat. You know, like I said earlier, Arthur is going to have access to 2, you know, sides of, you know, Bossman's borders. which is going to be dangerous here. But yeah, he's starting to hack away at that giant, which I think is the correct play here. So what Bossman can do is to really just try and do as much damage as possible, and hopefully try and unsiege that village should it be sieged, right? But let's also not forget what Arthur can do is position that giant onto the mountain if he goes for climbing. What happens if he does that? Well, he's going to damage both of these archers, which I don't think have any kills as of yet. So they're not really close to veteran, which would really render them very useless. 4 HP, 5 HP archers, significantly less damage. And I'm curious to see if Arthur here decides to keep pushing.
I think there's your answer.
Yeah.
I think he will.
Okay, moves in.
Nice.
Decides to keep his giant on the water. So, obviously the choices were, does he go for the mountain? Or does he go for the siege? There were a couple of moves that he could have played there. Decides to position it on the water so it can still be a threat for Nepo.
And it forces Bossman to react at the end of the day. He can't just sort of sit here and let this try and go uncontested. But that splash damage is not to be underestimated either. It's a quick game, by the way, by both of these players. Relatively similar on the clocks, but they are going quite quick. I will say we're about a third of the way through the game. And how do I know that? Well, obviously it could end sooner, but let's not forget each of these games has a time limit. If the game hits 60 minutes in total, 1 hour of game time, then it goes to a judge's decision to decide who takes the series. Now, this is something that Arthur experienced in the grand finals directly and was on the losing side of the decision. An uncontested decision, to be clear. So maybe he'll be looking to finish it off before then, if indeed at all possible. 11 kills to 4 does put him in the driving position like we've suggested, despite a slight city advantage for BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN. How do you think BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN should move from here?
Well, he needs to deal with that giant there. That's a big threat on the water. He's going to deal a lot of splash damage. So he needs to make sure that he doesn't get access to the city of Nepo there, which is kind of his line of defense. Because as soon as Arthur gets that village and he secures it, Artuliolo is going to be very exposed, and you do not want exposed villages, because as soon as you have an exposed village, it's very hard to defend, right? So at the same time, Bossman also needs to make sure that he's able to hold off potential counterattack from Arthur, because Bossman launched the initial attack, right? He went for archers. He decided to produce a lot of them, maybe because he saw that there was a potential attack coming from Arthur. Like when both players are in a position like this and they share borders like they're currently doing, the likelihood for an attack is very high, right? We've seen this in all previous games where if they're close to each other, one or the other is most likely going to attack. So both players also had to prepare for that eventuality. So the fact that Bossman went for archery might have also just been a defense mechanism to kind of hold off from Arthur's potential attack. But it's looking a little bit scary now for Bossman, because looking at this, that giant in that southern city is going to be a huge threat for Bossman, unless, of course, he can get his own giant in that city as fast as possible. And mind you, he doesn't have mathematics, which is going to slow down his ability to get any type of population growth there, or population in that capital. So I think Bossman needs to kind of think a little bit more economically here. How can I get economy so that I can level up these cities and be a little bit more stronger when Arthur decides to move in? Because he's got 2 rafts, which could at any moment turn into scouts. He's got a rider in the back, and a warrior, and then a giant in the south. Simultaneously, he's got a huge units of, really just an army up north, right? He's got 2 riders, 3, 4, 5 riders, 6, 7 units, 8 units, plus the catapult, plus the 2 giants there. 3 giants. So, huge army in the north, which Bossman has to defend. And look at the positioning. They're all of them are very close, and they're moving slowly in to launch an attack here. And I think this is what we're going to look at. 14 kills to 6. Yes, Bossman has the village lead, but he needs to be able to level up his cities if he's going to be able to come back from this, I think. And he needs to do it fast. While, of course, defending, which is the tricky part. Now, I'm looking at angles here for him. He, of course, he did get forestry earlier from a rune, right? So that really helped him out. He's now going to be able to take out this giant, which is also big for him here. And this is what he needs to do. He needs to defend. He shouldn't move into attacking.
It's that catapult, really, at the end of the day, that is going to be tricky for him to push forward on.
Yeah.
Anytime he steps into that sort of kill zone, it's going to be problematic.
And that catapult was also, last turn moved a little bit forward.
Yep.
And it's currently defended as well. So there we go. Mathematics. He goes for it, which will again allow him to level up now. So which city he decides to go for is the question. I would assume it's either going to be one of the cities in the middle there, Uspo, or it's going to be the southern city there in Quaulo.
The names just get better and better, huh?
Yeah.
How much of a role do you think water access could potentially play here for either of the players?
Did you say water access?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I think I mean, if either player gets either Kilo or Kuolo, they're going to be in a very good spot to in terms of water access. Mm-hmm. So that's 4 villages, because both players currently they have 3 villages each with pretty decent water access. I mean, if there isn't a little opening for Bossman to, should he want to go for maybe bombers, should it end up there, he could go for a bomber all the way in his capital there. But yeah, look at that. So gets the siege, launches a big attack now. And that's pretty brutal for Bossman here. He's most likely going to lose that city. Even if he pops a giant, I don't see him defending that for another turn. And this is really a huge swing right here. This is a big swing for Arthur, because as soon as he captures that village, he's going to have a lot, first of all, he's going to have the village lead. But he's going to be in a much better position when it comes to the water access, because capital, port, Amispo port, Usnia port, right? Kilo port. He's going to have 5 villages with port access. So, going back to and circling back to your question here, how important will that be? Well, as soon as he captures this, it's going to be very important. And mind you, he was able to siege that village because of water access. And Arthur is also hedging here. Look at the catapult that he placed in Kilo there. That is going to be in case Bossman retaliates with a giant there. Now, from Bossman's perspective, going back to the north here, he's got a giant that he just popped there. Obviously, he's got the mathematics now, which is going to allow him to play his own catapults, which is going to be good for defense. And those are going to help him on both fronts. They're going to help him defend any potential sieges on Neep, which is, the little isolated village all the way on the south that Bossman has. Not Uolo, but the other one. And Rokipo, I think it's called Rokipo. So, you know, he needs to think about how am I gonna... One thing is defend, right? You know, one thing is thinking about defense. The other is, as soon as I defend, and, you know, how well can I defend? But the question then becomes, how am I gonna counterattack?
Yes.
Because you can defend all you want, but if you are not
it's not going to win you the game.
siege,
It's a great point.
Yeah.
You can defend, but you're not going to win via just sitting on the back foot the entire time.
Exactly. I think what Bossman needs to do here is he needs to consolidate his units. 22 to 19 though.
22 to 19, but look at the kills. 17 to 9 kills. I mean, what we were saying earlier when it was back at 3 kills and 7 kills, that number and difference has only been increasing. Sure, they might have similar stars, right? Sure, they might have similar units, but the amount of stars invested in units that have then subsequently been killed is, of course, a lot higher for Bossman. I think he's going to start to feel the sting sooner rather than later.
Yeah, no, he will, and you know, at this stage, that is two, maybe 3 stars per unit that he's lost. Maybe a giant, I think, as well. So that is a lot of stars put into troops, and this is now becoming very obvious, right? I mean, the stars that Arthur has saved has allowed him to get technology faster. He's now in trade, right? But he's still in a very defensive and a good position in terms of his units. He's not currently going for an attack, and I think that's, you know, that's a correct move considering the fact that he just went for markets. Typically, the turn you place markets, you want to make sure that is a turn that is not spent on offense, but rather building up your economy. You know, look at that, heals all of his units. So he's now probably gonna set himself up for an attack in a turn or 2. And Bossman needs to do the same here. He needs to think, okay, well, Arthur just got markets. I can see that. He did the same to kind of keep up, right? Because if you can't keep up, you're gonna fall behind. And the longer the game drags on, with a huge economic advantage for either or player, one of them is gonna come out on top. So
absolutely, and we just have passed the halfway mark. So we are in the final half of the game. Of course, nowhere near a decision having to be made, but it is worth mentioning time is running out, and you have to think the current decision, if it was stopped as is, would favor Arthur. So what can BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN do to try and equal that? And I mean, let's just say it. Give me your chances. Give me your odds. I'm going 75-25.
Yeah, I was gonna say 70-30 here.
Okay.
And the reason being is because it's not over for Bossman, right? Like, he has a chance of coming back. But then again, when you're playing with skilled players like this, you're not gonna see a lot of mistakes being made. So that really, you can't rely on your opponent making mistakes. So what it's gonna come down to here is whether or not Bossman is able, like I said earlier, to consolidate his units, somehow build up a decent army, and then launch an attack. That's his only way of coming back. And the attack needs to be so overwhelming that Arthur is going to have a very hard time to respond. You know, there is no real clear difference. You know, obviously Arthur does have the extra village, which is useful and very helpful. But it's not like the last game that we saw where Bossman had that, what was it, 7-8 villages to 3, right? So there is no clear, you know, huge village advantage. Both players got trade now, and I think both players are going to resort to a similar strategy. They're both going to move into, you know, building up economy, slowly consolidating their army, and they're going to launch an attack. Whoever is first, we'll see about that. But I think yeah, like you said, Arthur is in a better position.
Absolutely, but that's when you say they're both going to pursue similar strategies, and I think you're absolutely right in that. There's nothing to me that suggests that they're differing from their sort of respective courses, which happen to be the same ones. But given that Arthur is in such a good position, given that we are giving him between 70 and 75% odds of success, you have to wonder, is that the right move from BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN? You know, he set up these archers in defense. Sure, they can take out whatever's in front of them. But that's not enough. He has to push the action here, and slowly but surely Arthur has been wresting control of this game from him.
Yes. That's the thing, and also, I mean, you take a look at this. Arthur is not looking to force an attack here, right? At best, he's either going to go for a very defensive position and try and bait Bossman into an attack, and then he's gonna what's the word? Is it spring jump? He's gonna essentially launch a springboard. There we go. He's gonna springboard back and launch a counter attack, trying to capitalize on any mistakes that Bossman makes. So I think he's setting up a trap here, hacking away at a little bit of health on those frontline archers. And you know, like, one thing that I wouldn't be too surprised about is chivalry as well, right? Now that they've both got trade, I kind of probably suspect to see it from Arthur if he were to do it a little bit, well, at first, that is. Because, you know, think about a chain here. Like, how many units do you kill, right? And 34 stars, 6... Many, yeah. And again, Arthur doesn't know this. Bossman doesn't have vision in the capital. So, you know, worst case scenario for Bossman here is Arthur places a knight all the way in his capital. And a knight with roads has a lot of range, 6 tiles of range. So it could effectively move from his capital, which is in the middle there. I think it barely reaches the frontline archer in the front there. Now, as soon and if Bossman ends up getting mountain axes, he could potentially chain throughout the way the game is set up right now, or the units are placed. Chain all the way through those archers in the middle there in the center, and if Bossman ends up playing a unit on the mountain, he could chain further down to the south and even take down one of these rafts or a siege onto that capital. Yeah, look at that. Little 1 HP archer did 0 damage. Oof. But yeah, he's about to time here. Bossman, 5 seconds left. 14 stars.
Did he run out of time? Was that one of the first times we've seen that? Well, look at the differences in time. It is a slow, inexorable crawl towards victory, free spirit, chivalry. I think this is the beginning of the end.
I called it. You did. Oh my days. Look at that. Chivalry in the back. He is now gonna just chain through that whole backline. Oh my days. And Bossman doesn't see the knight. That is so brutal. It's going to be a huge surprise for Bossman if that knight connects.
I think it'll be the resignation. Look at the amount of kills, by the way. Look at the sheer quantity. Almost 30 kills for Arthur. Turn 19. Yeah. That's where Bossman's stars have been going. And what does he have to show for it? A fight on the back foot. 5 units in the red. I just don't see a way back. I really, really don't. I think, personally, the chain will come, and that will be game. We're going to have to see something really special here from Big Dictator Bossman. We have all those ships in the east, and what are they doing? We have Nippo that is also about to be assaulted. I can't see a way forward. Free Spirit, Chivalry, that's one way forwards. Here we go. Yep.
Both players decided to go towards Chivalry here, and I think that was a correct play for both of them. I mean, you know, it's like I said earlier, Arthur was going to get Chivalry first, because there was just, you know, both of them have the markets now. They do have the economy to move into that. And they have all these units, these weak units, towards the center there. And, you know, right now, Bossman, if he's counting points, he knows that Arthur got some sort of 200 points bonus there in technology. The question is, which technology did he get? Did he get Chivalry? Because he didn't really see anything else happen on the map. You know, Arthur didn't disband anything. He didn't do anything that would give away that he just got Chivalry. So it could have been anything. But, you know, Bossman would be able to predict this if he's paying attention to score. But then again, Arthur's knight will connect first. The only thing is, it's not going to be, at the looks of it right now, it's not going to be a huge chain. Because he does have the giant there. He does have two archers. So at best, it's going to be a two chain kill. Because he's not going to be able to deal with that giant there. He's going to be able to hack away at it. But now Arthur, with his 5.5 minutes, he needs to position accordingly, because he knows that Bossman also has a chain, a knight in reserve that is most likely going to be launched next turn. So, this is a tricky spot for Bossman, because right now, like you said, being siege and Nepo, it goes in with the warrior instead. But wait a minute. Am I seeing... Yeah, no, Arthur has to make some moves here. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
There we go.
So he needs to disperse his units. He wouldn't... So this would have been a mistake if he didn't move that catapult. If he didn't, because he needs to somehow find a way to move his units so that knight doesn't IA kill his catapult and can't chain with all these riders. But yeah, this is it. This is Arthur doing his push, So 100%. He went back. He forced a little bit of an attack from Bossman earlier on in the game when he went in with his warrior to siege Pow. Obviously wouldn't hold, but he used that as a springboard to kind of launch a counterattack, not just with his riders and catapults, but with a knight. And Bossman, he also saw the angle. He saw that, okay, well, I kind of, there is a nice little spot to go for knights for myself here, but yeah,
I don't think you can. Let's see what he can do. And obviously, Bossman holding out as much as he can. But every single advantage is Arthur. I'm struggling to think of a single thing where he does hold an inherent advantage. Nepo is going to fall soon. And we have 20 minutes left of this game. If not ending it sooner.
Mm-hmm. Look at that. So he sends these units back. 1, 2, 3. Oh no, he doesn't have access, does he? Because there was a mountain there. So he's not going to be able to move in past the back there. So Arthur positioned that very well. He calculated, how far his knight could move, and he saw that knight is not going to be able to reach the back line there due to the mountain, due to the village, which is also going to protect the him from a potential roads that Bossman could play, which he's now not going to be able to play. He's gonna clean up these kills here. I mean, obviously that look at the catapult positioning. The catapult is in range to hit anything in Uspo and Nepo. So very good positioning on that catapult there. He's got 2 knights now. It's looking like this is going to be game for Arthur. I'm also not seeing because this is where the snowballing begins, right?
Yes.
Slowly hacking away, the fact that both players got knights obviously means that both of them have to be a lot more conscious about where they place their units.
There it is.
But yeah,
there it is.
Resigns.
Not seeing a way through. King Arthur is going to the finals. 2-1. Arthur wins against Big Dictator Bossman in a well-fought, drawn-out game. What a semi-final. I would say stark contrast to the Meisterlampe semi-final, where we had a very, very quick resignation and then a very, very quick stomp into the ground. Instead, we have 3 games going 2-1, and then obviously that final one